Hey everybody, Whitney LaBrie here. Hope that you're having a great weekend. I love the summer and I love a good summer barbecue. Grilling any meats really. I like all the grilled meats. When I say I like to grill, I mean I like to eat other people's grilled food. I don't really, do the cooking part of that. But not only grilled meats, I love grilled veggies. So this week I thought it'd be super fun if we took a stock barbecue grill and customized it and made it our own. Let's get to the project. And I'm gonna get to these grilled meats right here. What? Got something on my face?
Okay, so let's check out our grill. No, not this grill. This one. Oh, I see Tiny Whitney has already found it and she looks just as excited as me to make this grill and grilled meats. So let's take a look at this. So this is just a stock grill with a propane tank that's attached. It is all metal. This is an Aztec miniature here, and if you're interested, you can purchase one on my eBay website. I have a couple available for purchase. Now, the first thing I want to do is add some metallic silver to the areas that would have normally been silver, probably if I had purchased this at like a Home Depot. So I'm going to paint the legs and base. I'm also going to paint the handle to the grill and of course the grill grate as well. So I think that all of those things should be silver, and probably the knobs also, but I may wait till the end to do that so that I don't keep touching the paint and smearing it while I paint the other parts. Okay, and then that is all the silver areas. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to make that grilling grate much more realistic, as though it's been used several times. And so the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to add a little bit of silver paint because I need it to be wet, and a little bit of water. And then I'm going to take my pastel chalks in black and dark brown. I'm going to go ahead and dust those grates, and I'm going to really focus to the outside quite a bit because it's going to, of course, be darker to the outside than the interior. I'll start to the outside edges and then I'll move inward. And I really would like to add quite a bit. The reason I'm using the chalk is because it is already gritty, so it will give the illusion of like the little bits and pieces that do get stuck to the grill, of course, and that's the look that I'm going for. Now, while that dries, I want to add a little bit of rust to the crevices and around areas that would have bolts and things like that. I don't necessarily want this to look like a piece that's just been not well taken care of or just sat out in the backyard. I just want it to look as though it has, naturally built up areas of rust that would just normally occur, because pieces like this are typically powder coated and they don't really rust too bad unless they've been completely abandoned and tossed in a field or something. So I'm going to use cinnamon for my rust. I tend to use the cinnamon a lot whenever I use rust because it already has that great texture to it. It is super easy to use, and cinnamon is a natural bug repellent, those concerned about food, and so you don't really need to worry about that. So what I'm going to do in this case, you can just use like a clear coat if you want to, like a matte clear coat, or you can also use the same color paint that you've already used. So in this case, I've already used the metal. I can dab little areas with the silver metal paint and then just lightly coat the rust or the cinnamon right on top of it. And again, I'm not going to overdo it with the rust look. I just want to add a little bit for texture and color and realism. And that's what that's going to look like. And then I'm also going to take a little black paint and I'm going to paint around the bolts that hold the top to the grill. I'm just going to add a tad bit of rust there also. The other thing I want to do is add a little bit of white to the wheels. So I'm going to add a little bit of white, a little bit of black, and then I'm just going to add one silver little dot as though there's a little bolt there holding it on. Okay, I think it's safe for me to go ahead and paint the front knobs, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little silver to those. Also, they would be fun in red. Also, that would have been a fun color to use, but I just went with silver. And the only other thing I really want to do is add a little detail to the propane tank. So this is the one that's in our little fire pit outside. So I'm just going to print up a couple blue Rhino labels here and add those. I'm going to glue those down. Did a clear coat on top just to make sure that they were fully glued down. Then I took my super glue and glued that into place because I don't want it rolling around anymore. It's ready to just be fitted. And then the only other thing I did to that was painted just the connector piece from the tank to the hose. I just painted that area gray. Now it's time to make our grilled veggies. And you guys, I'm going to be using polymer clay today to do the veggies and the meat. I am still really new to polymer clay, and so I am also still very excited about using polymer clay. And what I'd like to do is make some really brightly colored shish kebab.
I thought this was shish kebab. What? I thought this was shish kebab.
Now the way I'm going to do it, I've got all my polymer clays set out here. I've got some reds, some oranges, I'm going to do some bell peppers. And you see here I've got this little white that's translucent, so I'm going to mix all of them with some translucent. I also want to add a few little mushrooms. I'm going to do onions and also a little zucchini. So I'm going to start with my little red bell peppers here. Basically, I just combined that translucent and then this red, and I just rolled it out, and I'm just going to cut up little tiny squares, a whole bunch of little tiny squares. Once the little squares are all cut up, I am going to take my little tool here, and I'm kind of going to bend them around it so that they just give the look of kind of being bent and shriveled, the way that when you cut them, they would already kind of have a bent look to them or a curve to them. And then once you put them on the skewer, they're definitely going to curve a little also. And so that's what that looks like. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my yellow, because these are going to be my yellow bell peppers. And I'm not making sure that these are all uniformly cut, because you wouldn't have that regularly. You would try, but they won't be perfect. So I'm not going to really worry about that. Just trying to make little squares. For the zucchini, what I did was I took a lighter color, a cream color. That'll be the interior part of the zucchini. And I rolled it out quite a bit. And then I just took my regular green, I rolled that also out, and then I wrapped my white little snake with the green so that would be the outer part of the zucchini. And then I just chopped them up. There are better ways to do this as far as making them look really realistic, but in my case, I'm not really going to be that concerned about that. The skewer will go right through the center, and then I'm going to take some chalk pastels in a little bit, and we can color them up to make them look a little bit more realistic. So those are my little zucchinis. The next thing I did was I took a combination of light and dark brown, and I just rolled out a whole bunch of little balls, and those are going to be my little mushrooms, and I can chalk dust them a little bit with some other color. And for the mushrooms, you can just do a little dab of them. You can roll them over some sandpaper or roll them over a craft toothbrush and give them some more texture to make sure that they're a little bit more realistic. For the onion, what I did was I took a couple different colors of cream colored polymer clay, and I made one small snake first, and then I rolled out different color polymer clays and then wrapped those and rolled them, and then wrapped another color, then rolled it out, then wrapped another color, so that it would give little layers. And then it's really hard to see in the camera, but I do have a layered onion. All right, and then for the skewer, what I used was these little metal jewelry bits here. I don't even know what they're actually called. I have these little gold ones. They are all, I think they're used for making necklaces maybe. But anyway, this is what they look like. And I just started putting each piece on one at a time. And I kind of went in a pattern, a red, a yellow, a white, green, that sort of thing. And, added some mushrooms and just, made them all kind of the same, but also just a little bit different, just to add a little bit of a variety when we put them on the grill. All right, so then what I did was I took some clear liquid polymer clay, some of my black pastel chalk, and I mixed them together. And then I just took a toothpick and I lightly dabbed on some of the black onto my little shish kebabs here, so they would give the appearance of looking like they have been grilled. And then this is what they look like. I did also dust them a little bit with some creams and a dark green too, to cut back on the shininess of some of the vegetables and add just a little bit more realism. Okay, so long story short, I'm working with a new camera and I accidentally deleted a ton of my original footage. So I'm going to remake the steak for you. And I'm telling you that because the original steak and the new steak look different. And you might notice that. So here is the polymer clay that I'm going to be using for the steak today. And I've got a caramel color here. I've got a dark brown, and then I've got some white, translucent, and also a raspberry color here. And I'm going to mix that raspberry and white together to kind of give a marbled meat look. And this is what that looks like. And then what I've done here, you can see that I have rolled out the caramel color, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap the marbled meat up in that first. And that's what that looks like. And then I'm going to take my darker brown and do a layer also of the dark brown. and wrap that up. Now I really made my darker layer quite thin, so you can see some of that caramel color is kind of wanting to come through, which is totally fine in this situation because it's just going to be sitting on top of a plate or on top of the grill. This is also a lot thicker than the original one that I did. So then I kind of shaped it out a little bit better into more like a little steak shape here. And what I'd like to do now is go ahead and make the grill marks on the top. So you can see my picture, their grill is all straight, so all the grill marks are straight. But for me, I've got that diamond pattern, so I want to make sure to do a diamond pattern on my steak. Then I'm just taking my dark brown chalk pastels and doing a couple coats in that, just to add a little bit of color there. My little steak wants to get away from me. And then I did the same thing that I did for the shish kebabs, was I took my clear polymer clay, my liquid clear polymer clay, and some black chalk, and I just want to go over all the grate marks with that. The next step is to go ahead and grate some of my dark black and my dark brown chalk right on top, directly onto the steak to give it that really charred, cooked look. And then I'm going to dust a little bit on the sides because I do want it all to match. And I can always add more once it's cooked. So now I'm going to go ahead and make a couple slices because I want a couple slices for a plate. And we'll see what that looks like, and it's not bad. It's nice and marbled. I like it, but we're gonna add a little bit more color to it. Before we add the color though, I just want to take some of the pieces and I'm going to take my razor blade and I want to add just some striations into the meat so it has a more realistic texture. So I'm just going to slice it up really fast, and I'm also going to do the little slices that I cut up in the same way. All right, now I want to add a little bit more color, and I also want it to look a little bit more juicy, so I'm taking some dark brown and a little bit of this pinkish color here, and I'm going to mix it in with some liquid polymer clay and clear, and I'm just going to go ahead and take my toothpick and just dab on that new color onto the meat. Now I'm a person who likes it pretty rare on the inside but charred on the outside, but my mom would not want to eat her meat like that. She's a cook it all the way through, like no pink at all type of a person, which drives me crazy. You can see there the color and everything, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pop that into the oven and bake it for about 15 minutes. And then this is the original steak that I did, and you can see here the plate. I did bake some slices right onto the plate, and I added that liquid to make it look a little bit juicy, and then I did add a little shish kebab here on the side. All right, now for the little towel and the tongs on the side there that I added. So what I did to make that was, obviously I just took a little piece of material that was left over from a bedspread that I did earlier last year, and I just cut off a little piece, and I chose the strawberry pattern because it just is so summery feeling, and then I just sprayed it with my Alien stiffening spray, and then folded it into a position that looked like someone just kind of laid down the towel, and then I glued it to the side there. For the tongs, what I did was I took a piece of cardstock and I drew out the shape of a tong on one side and then folded the paper so that both sides would be exactly the same, and then I cut them out. So for scale, what I often will do is just take one of my dollhouse dolls. So for instance, these tongs, I did cut them out and I put them in the doll hand to see if they seemed correct, and they did. So I went ahead and painted them, and I used my same metallic paint that I used earlier to paint them silver, and I did do a couple coats on them. Then I took one staple and I just bent it around where the little metal clasp would be on a set of tongs, and then I glued it to the towel also, so they are not removable. All right, now let's just put our meats together on our barbecue and see what it looks like. And there it is, you guys. Wait a minute, there's like an extra little shish kebab there. Oh my gosh, is that you, Tiny Whitney? Oh my gosh, it is. Oh, you shrink to all sorts of sizes, don't you, girl? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of our next level barbecue. If you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Love to have you as a subscriber, a viewer, and as always, please feel free to comment below. Love to hear what you think about it. Give me a thumbs up. Those things really do help my channel grow. I really do appreciate it. Again, if you're interested in customizing your own grill, you can purchase that on my eBay website, which is Whitney LaBrie Events. I do have a couple of those in stock right now. You guys have a wonderful week, and remember, in this crazy life, it's the little things that matter.